Turns out there was more to that settlement between President Trump and the IRS. The Justice Department is now forever barred from auditing Trump. The addendum, which was quietly added Tuesday, says that the government cannot examine tax returns of the president, his family, his company, or related companies. It applies to anything filed before the agreement was reached, which was on Monday.
Democrats and Republicans are skeptical about a lot of this, worried that the funds could even go to pay violent January 6th rioters. Here's what Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell just told John last hour.
How do I feel about that? I think this is one of the most outrageous, unethical things I have yet to see this administration do. And all indications are that they clearly are targeting. Some of the January 6 people that have been convicted are talking about taking this money and using it to compensate people that were then victims of other crimes that they did. And this deal that he's cutting for immunity is absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the United States.
CNN's Elena Treen tracking this one. She's joining us now with much more on this. What are you hearing from the White House about this one?
Yeah, look, there's obviously a lot of scrutiny, Kate, that is being paid to this new settlement that they have worked on. And I do want to focus on what you just brought up about this new addendum that we saw posted to the Justice Department website yesterday, essentially saying that in this settlement, the IRS cannot go after the president, his family members, or their businesses, again, for past potentially, it's backwards looking for past violations or anything like that, at least for now. I'd remind you, though, that, of course, the president can always file some sort of blanket pardon when he leaves office to protect him from any future consequences. Now, I do want to say we knew from our reporting last week, Kate, that this was something that the president's attorneys at the Justice Department, the lawyers at the IRS and others were looking at, including lawyers here at the White House, and they were discussing this potential move to protect the president and members of his family. So we knew that this was something that they were considering. But of course, this raises even more questions because, there's a lot of people in the Trump administration, and specifically Trump administration's lawyers, that are overseeing this personally. A lot of these people were the president's personal former attorneys. That includes Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, had previously worked to represent the president. Now, people are asking, how can you file this $10 billion lawsuit against your own government and have your own personal attorneys look at this?
Let's talk about this. Joining us right now is Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Let's talk on this DOJ fund. You heard what Congresswoman Debbie Dingell thinks about it. What is your reaction to it overall, and now this addendum, I guess, if you will, that we're hearing about, which is that it's barring the IRS forever from bringing claims against the president for past tax issues?
It's what happens when you make your personal attorney the Attorney General of the United States. Corruption's the name of the game for the Trump administration. His crypto coin raised millions from Chinese billionaires. His son-in-law's private equity firm is raising millions from Middle Eastern billionaires. And now the president is seeking to raise millions directly from the United States taxpayer. And that matters to Americans. One, because the blatant corruption undermines respect for the rule of law. It makes criminals like those January 6 rioters think they can get away with it and continue to do harm, as they are currently out in American cities and streets. And two, because the money matters. I mean, the Environmental Protection Administration just cut a couple $2 billion from clean water funds meant to take PFAS, forever chemicals, out of municipal water utilities. That $1.8 billion, that could be funding clean water for schools and for cities. But right now it's funding Donald Trump's vengeance campaign.
My panel is back with me. So that is the problem now. There's no limitations, there's no exclusions, as we know, et cetera. There is the concern about who might be eligible and therefore could actually collect tax-funded money through a slush fund. This seems to me such a political misstep, given that it would not only include people who are January 6th rioters, but also include people who are like Letitia James or James Comey, who would say, I've been wrong, do I get paid? Why do this?
Maybe Hunter Biden too. I don't know. First of all, I think you got to have some preclusions there. You cannot allow people who attacked law enforcement to access these funds. I think most Republicans would probably agree.
But he didn't say
with
that.
I know
Why
the
not?
Attorney General didn't say that. I think his response was he's going to nominate 5 people, and then they will determine the rules and structures by which people can
This
request
is like
these funds.
completely invented.
But
This
that
is
said, though,
completely invented. This is.
well, Lula, I wasn't done. Hold on a minute. But that said, though, and I'm gonna be quick here so my friend Lula can jump in. Just really quickly, from a conservative perspective, this sounds a lot like a reparation. And traditionally, conservatives aren't in support of utilizing taxpayer dollars to just give to people. Now, there is a grievance process by which they could sue the federal government if they wanted to for a redress of said grievances. But to utilize taxpayer dollars for, again, effectively a reparation, I'm just not in support of that at all.
Then why you're saying it's totally
Go ahead,
invented,
Lulu.
obviously.
Okay, no, but like, I know we all have the memory of goldfish in this moment, but let us recall that this was a secret, because basically it was exposed by my paper, the New York Times, sort of lawsuit against, from Donald Trump to his own Department of Justice for $10 billion with a B dollars that wasn't public until the press made it public. So he was trying to line his pockets with taxpayer money for his own grievances. When that was going to go to court and clearly was going to be questioned, all of a sudden there is this settlement that is $1.7 billion, again, of our money, taxpayer money, that goes to whomever Todd Blanche, the president's former personal attorney, decides. Just to give you the sequence of events here.
Well, it's not Todd deciding directly himself. Again, I just want
no,
to
he's
clear
appointing
on
the
that.
people.
Hold on, Todd
who
Blanche,
decide.
working at the Justice Department, Todd Blanche should not even be involved in this settlement. The fact that his former client is the president. CNN had a story last week about how career officials had told Todd Blanche and Amal Bovey, who is now a judge, that they should recuse themselves from certain matters. Now, Todd Blanche
you said he
says,
has
and
done
Todd Blanche
that.
said he's done that.
He did.
But he is on Capitol Hill, not saying that he has been recused from this settlement. He should absolutely be recused because this involves his former client. To be honest with you, in the matter, in the tax
The client
matter,
who isn't getting anything directly from this.
but he's
just
the
to
one.
be clear.
But the client is the one who dictated what the settlement is.
Hold on, you
And
don't-
at the end of the day, he is the one who is implementing it.
You don't think that Donald Trump gets even a political benefit from having essentially said, I'm going to make sure that my platform of weaponization now has a dollar attached to it?
Political? No, because I think
I don't think
no,
you
no, no.
think that.
Because I think most independent swing voters, who I think really will determine a lot of these close races, look at this and say, yeah, absolutely not.
But
I'm probably
not
not going
just
to vote
independent
Republican. So
voters.
politically, I don't see a
Repub-
benefit at all for
Well,
Republicans.
I'm talking about but when I talk about political benefit, that encompasses also Republicans who want to continue their support for him, or those who say he didn't do what he did when it came to the Iran war or other matters or domestic policy, but here in weaponization, he's doing this. And you had people who said, I think that he is going to essentially repay me for what it took to actually fight against these cases. I think there is a political benefit he will receive, even without having his pocket lined.
I'm not so sure I see it that way, and I think there's a lot of incumbent House members running for re-election who really do not want to talk about this or don't want to answer.
Oh, I'm
questions
sure.
about it. So I'm
Nor
not sure
should
how
they.
that. Right, but to a broader point, I understand President Trump is mad at the DOJ, the IRS for leaking his tax returns,
And that
for
person
being
was
under.
prosecuted.
Hold on, I know. But I know he's always felt like he is constantly under attack. But when this sort of thing comes forward, it's a massive head scratcher. Just ask basic questions. I understand 1776, blah, 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 blah. But like, where did that number come from? What's the basis of that? We talk about a 5-person panel. Why is that the best way to administer it? And what are the sort of the backing ends of this to sort of the qualifications of
there
it?
are questions.
People want to know that. Those are real questions. And no, I don't think most Americans, like 80-something%, want to see people who did harm to police officers get money. I think we've all been in agreement of that. So when this thing is just rolled out there and said, well, deal with it, that's not good anything. It's not good politics, it's not good policy, it's not good PR.
I don't see a total disconnect from the person who nominates those who make decisions about the criteria. and the people who actually ultimately will make the decisions about the criteria. I was looking for Todd Blanche today during his testimony to at least discuss what his criteria in nominating somebody might be. When we have nominations for a Supreme Court, right? Presidents are looking to figure out, or their cabinet members, or anyone who's a political appointee, they're looking to figure out who has the criteria.
This out of their
You can say "but" in prime time.
butt.
There you go.
They pulled it out of their butt. And this wasn't, the plan. They pulled this plan out of their butt. And now they are, pretending that this is all sort of formal and that this is like, obviously, there's going to be a panel and blah, blah, blah. But this is what is called self-dealing. I mean, this is government corruption. This is taking taxpayers' money and actually using it for your own political benefit.